I'm not retired yet, my friend. No, they can say whatever they want, but it's not that easy. One fight, don't put in that position. You need to do a lot of things.
Canelo Alvarez thinks you're not a 54 pounder. In other words, you say, nah, he's too small.
That's his take. There's a reason why Israel was so respectful in the fight. Anytime I let my hands go, he would grab me or...
The story goes like this. Crawford's rematch with Errol Spence Jr., one of the most highly anticipated fights in the welterweight division, may have been scheduled for the undercard of Canelo's upcoming bout. This decision was met with both confusion and outrage from fans. Why would one of the best fighters in the world, a man who just demolished Spence in their first meeting, be relegated to a secondary role? The answer lies in the numbers. Canelo, despite his legacy as one of the sport's most accomplished fighters, has been struggling with his recent pay-per-view numbers and ticket sales. His last few fights, especially against Gennady Golovkin and Dmitry Bivol, failed to live up to expectations, both in terms of drawing power and the excitement they generated, and now to add insult to injury, Crawford's second fight with Spence is seen as the true headliner, but it's being buried beneath Canelo's shadow.
Canelo is great. We all know he's big. We all know he's strong. He got good timing. He got good punching power. He moves his head well. He's a good counter puncher. We all know all that things about Canelo, but we never seen Terence Crawford at 168. So we don't know. We don't know if Terence Crawford can take his punch power. We don't know if Canelo is going to be able to box, toe for toe with Terence.
Crawford, for his part, isn't one to sit quietly when it comes to such slights. His statement calling out Canelo wasn't just a personal attack. It was a reminder that the sport has changed. To him, it was Crawford, not Canelo, who dominated the welterweight division, decimating Spence in a fight that cemented his status as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
It could happen. Why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great. So, I'm with it. So, I'll be going for Bud. If he fight Canelo, I'll be going for him. I don't know if he gonna win or lose, but I definitely be going for Crawford. I think if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off.
And yet he's been placed on the undercard, forced to share the spotlight with a fighter whose recent form has been under question. Crawford's brash comment about ticket sales being dead was a stark reflection of the fact that Canelo's name, while still huge in the boxing world, isn't the draw it once was. Fans are no longer flocking to his fights in the same numbers they did before, and that's become an undeniable reality. Crawford, being the competitive fighter he is, couldn't let this go without a response. This tension between the two men is about more than just a pay-per-view schedule. It's about their place in boxing history.
Canelo, based on last fight, is a 50-50. So Canelo fights an undisputed champ, up-and-coming former champion, and an up-and-coming undefeated contender. And somehow those three last opponents are somehow compared to Bud's Madrimov fight, making it a 50-50 fight?
Canelo, who once appeared invincible, has been showing signs of vulnerability. The loss to Dmitry Bivol revealed cracks in his armor, and his decision to stay at super middleweight rather than returning to light heavyweight for a rematch raised more than a few questions. Canelo's reign, once viewed as impervious, has started to look more like a series of opportunistic moves, with the allure of his massive paydays overshadowing the actual quality of his performances. His struggles to make the big fights happen, particularly the one with Crawford that fans have long been clamoring for, or even Benavidez, have given more fuel to the fire. Crawford, on the other hand, has continued to dominate, with his knockout win over Spence further solidifying his claim as the best in the sport.
Do I want to see knockouts? I'm from a different time in this sport when fighters went to war in the ring. We wanted to destroy our opponents. I still took the Pacquiao fight knowing my body was broken and old and I couldn't beat him. But I was a warrior. I wanted to be a legend. It's a different mentality, a champion's mentality. Canelo wants to get paid. He avoids Benavidez and Bivol, who schooled him just like Mayweather. He wants to cruise easily into retirement.
But the heat doesn't end there. Recently, it was revealed by Turki Al-Sheikh, a powerful figure in the Saudi sports scene, that bigger fights could be on the horizon for both Crawford and Canelo Al-Sheikh, known for his involvement in the development of combat sports in the Middle East, hinted that both men could be part of a major boxing event that would far surpass the scope of their current bout. This revelation adds another layer to the ongoing situation. Could Crawford's fight with Spence be just a stepping stone for bigger opportunities in Saudi Arabia? And could Canelo be playing the role of the aging champion, relying on younger stars like Crawford to keep the spotlight shining on him?
I feel I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out. From Kirkland to Amir Khan to just...
Don't do
obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not. Kovalev.
Kovalev was older. He does.
Billy Joe.
Don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of power, but all those guys that you named is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry. No dish.
This isn't just about Canelo's fading power. It's about the future of boxing and the changing dynamics in the sport. The rise of new stars like Crawford, who refuses to play by the traditional rules of promotion, is a sign that the old guard is being challenged. The heavyweight division is once again alive with action, but the same can be said for the smaller weight classes. Crawford, with his all-around skills and his willingness to fight the best, is carving out a path that could very well redefine what it means to be the top fighter in the world. His willingness to call out Canelo for his weak ticket sales only proves that he's not here to play second fiddle to anyone. He's here to take the throne, and he's not waiting for permission. Canelo, meanwhile, is facing the reality of his career for years. He has been the undisputed king of boxing, the fighter everyone looked to as the face of the sport. But in 2023, that narrative started to crack the doubts about his ability to still perform at the highest level are growing. And his reliance on other names to sell his events is only further proof of that Crawford, by contrast, is at the peak of his powers. His win over Spence was a defining moment in boxing, a display of dominance that left little room for debate, and yet he finds himself placed on the undercard of a man who in his eyes is no longer the top draw he once was. And this view is not just with Crawford, even Benavidez believes Canelo is overhyped.
Want to fight Canelo? Would you ever entertain a fight with Benavidez?
Benavidez is a big dude. Not to say I won't fight him, but the only reason why I entertain Canelo is because he's not a big dude. He might be thick, you know what I mean, but he's not a big dude. Benavidez is like 6 foot something, come in 190, 200 probably, you know what I mean? I might as well go to heavyweight if I fight Benavidez.
Canelo Alvarez once again has the boxing world arguing in circles, but this time it's not about a sanctioning body or scorecard. It's about whether he can survive or even thrive in the land of giants. Fresh footage has surfaced showing the Mexican superstar sparring with undefeated heavyweight contender Frank Sanchez, and it's already sending shockwaves through the sport. For those who followed Canelo's climb from 147 to 175 lbs, this shouldn't be a complete surprise. The man who began his legacy in the welterweight division has never respected limits.
Fight the best in the division. I'm #1 in the division, #1 contender. The second one is David Morrell. He's not fighting me, nor he's not fighting David Morrell. So it makes no sense. How is he going to call himself the champion and have all these belts if he doesn't fight the #1 or the #2 guys? Guys asking $200 million. Why, when they bring my name?
He stopped Sergey Kovalev at light heavyweight to win a world title, and at one point had plans to challenge cruiserweight Ilunga Makabu, a request the WBC shockingly approved in 2021. It seemed absurd at the time, and it still does, but Canelo just doesn't care, and now with him moving around the ring against a 6'4", 220 lb heavyweight like Frank Sanchez, those absurd ideas are bubbling back to the surface.
Hell of a fighter. But my personal opinion, he's ducking Benavidez. You know, that's just my personal opinion, and I'm allowed to speak my mind. That's just what it is. He's going up. He's going up to cruiser, and I'm not knocking him, but he's going up to cruiserweight. And that same guy with that, he used to be at the Mayweather boxing gym. The guys really getting the best of him in the Mayweather boxing gym.
The footage isn't exactly violent. It's not like Sanchez was trying to flatten him, but even in the light sparring, Canelo's confidence and movement speak volumes. He's short, sure, and much smaller in mass, but he's not intimidated, and this isn't some gym myth either. His trainer, Eddie Reynoso, spoke plainly to ESPN. "I know what he has done with the heavyweights he spars with, and that is why we asked for the fight. The fight Reynolds is referring to may not be one he ever truly expected to get." The cruiserweight bout with Makabu was never finalized, and now that Makabu lost his title to Badu Jack, the same Jack who infamously punched 2 referees in separate fights, that whole route looks dead in the water. Still, it's not far-fetched anymore to imagine Canelo flirting with the idea of a heavyweight title shot down the road, even if just as a historical gimmick.
Canelo faced an elite boxer, he arguably lost.
Hey,
Danny Jacobs?
Arguably doesn't matter.
Danny Jacobs is not elite.
What?
Stop.
What?
Stop.
This dude is funny.
Stop.
He needs to Google the scorecards on the Triple G.
Online, the response has been predictably chaotic. Some fans are genuinely thrilled by the idea of Canelo becoming the first man in history to win titles from welterweight to heavyweight. Others think it's a delusional fantasy cooked up to maintain his image after the bitter taste left by the Dimitri Bivol loss. One comment stood out in the storm. "This is what a typical Canelo fight looks like. Canelo is walking forward like a zombie, while the other guy doesn't even try." Another user called the footage disrespectful to the sweet science, citing that Frank clearly wasn't trying to hurt him. But those criticisms ignore a crucial truth. Nobody spars a 220 lb killer unless they believe they belong. And this is why most pros don't like this fight.
Generational fight, you know, that will be talked about for years.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm gone, they'll talk about, man, you remember Crawford coming up to 168 and fighting Canelo, you know, 2 top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and they prime fighting each other. Like, man, that's...
Yeah, but I also feel, Terence, that Canelo's just in a different place, man. I think he...
And this matters more now than ever, because the noise around Canelo isn't just about weight. It's about who really deserves to share the ring with him next. William Skull is reportedly next up on May 3rd. It's a stay-busy fight, a meaningless one to most, but it sets the stage for something bigger. And here's where things get twisted. That something bigger might not be David Benavidez or David Morrell. Like purists hoped it might be Terence Bud Crawford, which is something already controversial.